All right. Joining us now on Just Your Opinion, man. We've had a lot of guests on this fine podcast, and this next one is one of them. He is learning to be a lawyer at Santa Clara University, and the man knows a lot about the draft. Ladies and gentlemen, my little brother, Nicholas Papa.
Thank
What's
you
up,
for
man?
having me.
Oh,
It's a
well,
pleasure to be on.
it's only because you demanded to come on and pleaded and begged.
I don't know if I did that.
Yeah, I remember a lunch at Drake's in Oakland where Derek, please, I want to get on your podcast, talk about the draft.
I did get pretty drunk that day. But if I
You
can
did.
remember correctly, I think you offered me the position of a new co-host on your podcast.
Whoa! Hey, Steven's not on today. Let's not let that be known to the audience.
I think it's time for a title change.
A
Just your
title
opinion.
change?
Just your opinion, brother.
Oh, okay. That sounds pretty lame, but we'll try to incorporate that in some way. So, Nick, you fancy yourself a draft expert. Why should I listen to you when it comes to your expertise?
I think I put in the work. I've watched
Okay.
a lot of these guys, and I love football.
Okay, well, that's all I need to know.
I don't know, listen to
So
what I have to say. You can disregard it if you wish.
that is true. It is just your opinion, man. So it is just our opinions at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this draft, Nicholas Papa, would you say this is a strong draft class or a weak draft class?
It's definitely a weaker draft class. I don't think outside of these top three guys that there's a lot of star power. So I don't think we'll see a lot of all-pro type of players, Hall of Famers coming from this draft. I think there's a lot of starters. I think there's a lot of depth in a lot of position groups, wide receiver and offensive line especially. I think those are offensive line especially. I think you could see a lot of linemen getting drafted early in this draft. But no, I don't think this, outside of the three guys, which are pretty clear to everybody, I don't think there's a lot of these people that we'll be talking about in all-pro or potentially Hall of Fame discussion.
So when you say the top three guys, you mean Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter.
Yes.
And you and I talked about Abdul Carter. Everyone's been talking, or sorry, we talked about Travis Hunter and just what position he's going to play at the next level. And he, in a recent interview, actually told somebody that if the next team that drafts him says you need to play one position, then he'll just retire. So he has his heart set on playing both positions. You and I watched him when you were at my apartment a couple weeks ago. I think he's equally good as a wide receiver as he is a cornerback. There's not many great cornerbacks in the NFL. There are plenty great wide receivers, but at the next level, he would get paid more to be a wide receiver. Do you think it's feasible he could play both, or do you think he needs to stick to one position?
I think that he needs to. I think in the NFL, you cannot do both full time. I think it's impossible. I think especially because of his frame. He's a skinnier guy. He's 180 pounds. He's not the biggest. I don't think he could play both positions full time. I also don't think that you would want him to. So, I mean, do we want to jump right into him right now?
Yeah, why not?
So I have him going number 3 to the Giants. I think that he'd be.
Well, hold on. Hey, don't reveal your mock draft just yet, buddy.
I will then just in the
That's a tease for the audience.
I think he is best as a wide receiver. I think day one, he is one of the best wide receivers in football. I think he's in the mold of a Garrett Wilson or a Justin Jefferson. I think he's just an incredible route runner. I think he'd instantly be one of the best route runners in football. I think he could have 90 catches for 1,000 yards as a rookie. I think he's fantastic. I don't think that he would be one of the best corners in football. I think he'd be a good corner. I don't think that he could be one of those Patrick Surtain press man corners because I think he's so skinny and lightweight. I think when you watch him at his best, he's in zone coverage, breaking on the ball with his eyes on the quarterback. And I don't think that you take him that high if he was just playing corner. I don't think he would be a top 10 pick. I think he's probably as good as another corner that we'll get to, I think is the other best corner in the draft in terms of zone coverage. But I think he will be dominant at wide receiver. I don't think, and I think you want him on the field constantly at wide receiver. You don't want to have to take him off and limit his plays. So people that talk about playing him, because I think it'd be easier, they say, to play him full-time at corner and then have 20 plays for him to play on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think that'd be smart because I think you want him on the field constantly because he is such a threat that needs to be accounted for. I think you could play him at nickel on like zone coverages or like third and longs and stuff. I think that's where he would be best. I don't think he's like a true outside corner, but that's what I would do. I think you could play him at cornerback, but I would not be surprised if we don't see him playing regularly there and we see him being a star wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, his mentor, Deion Sanders, only played sparingly a wide receiver. I just think it's incredible that even in college football, he was able to do both positions at full time, and he put up ridiculous stats as a wide receiver and a cornerback. But you heard the other day, I don't know if you saw this, Nick, where the GM of the Browns, Andrew Berry, was on record saying, like, we want him to play both positions, and we think we would kind of treat it like Shohei Ohtani a little bit. And I thought that's not a really great comparison because Shohei's not pitching every day. So, I mean, I get the comparison, but also at the same time, I think it's a little different because he would be doing both. There'd be no breather. He'd be sprinting as a wide receiver and then trying to cover guys that are full sprinting as wide receivers. So I don't think it's feasible, but at the same time, I've never seen anybody do this in college football the way he's doing it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Browns love to play man-to-man coverage.
I believe so, yes. I think Denzel Ward is in press man coverage mostly.
So I don't think that he suits that style of play. I think he's best as a zone corner. I also don't think that I think he has great short, quick yardage, like speed, but I don't think he's a burner. And I don't think that you could put him up against someone like Justin Jefferson and expect him to cover him on a go route. I think he would get burned.
Well, at the same time, as a wide receiver, he's not going to burn you for an 80-yard touchard.
I don't think he will, but I think he has good enough speed at wide receiver. I think he's probably around a 4.4-ish speed.
I don't think he ran even at the combine, so I don't know.
No, I didn't. But if you were watching him, I think you'd have to say that's around where he is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm with you on that. I do believe that it's not feasible, but I think they're going to try. Let's bring up the other cornerback that you mentioned, Jahdae Barron from Texas. What do you think about him?
That is not the quarterback that I was thinking of.
Oh, by all means then.
So I think the second best quarterback or cornerback in the draft is Will Johnson. I think he's incredibly similar.
I forgot about Will Johnson. Yes,
yeah,
of course.
I think he is best as a zone corner as well, but I think he has more of that prototypical size where he could play man-to-man. They don't really ask him to do it almost ever. So when you watch a lot of the tape, he's in off coverage. And I think it's because Michigan was very much playing that Jim Harbaugh bend, don't break style of football, where they're playing off. They're trying to limit, explosive plays and control time of possession by running the football. So he's often in zone coverage. I think that's where he looks best when he's breaking on the ball. So he has some crazy interceptions, pick sixes.
Yeah.
I think he could play man-to-man. I don't think that's what he will be best at least was what he's shown on tape. I don't think that's what he's best at. And I think that's why, we were talking about what the Raiders are going to do at 6. Yeah. Spoiler alert, I don't think that he's worth taking at number 6. I think someone else is worth taking at number 6, who is, I forgot to say right there. I said 3 generational prospects. There's a 4th who I think the Raiders will be taking at number 6, who I think is just too good to pass up on.
Nice tease. Yeah, in the limited stuff I've seen of Will Johnson, I would say that he's good in zone coverage, but as like a physical corner, he doesn't have it. And I think that would maybe deter a lot of teams taking him as high as 6. But the Raiders do need help at cornerback because they let Jack Jones go. They just released him. Nate Hobbs went in free agency to the Green Bay Packers. So they're definitely desperate for a cornerback, but I think we both agree that maybe Will Johnson would be kind of a reach at 6. But then again, John Spytek went to Michigan, so he maybe value those guys maybe more than what other GMs would. But let's talk about Jahdae Barron from Texas. I guess he'll be the 3rd cornerback in this draft class. What do you think about him?
He would not be my 3rd cornerback. I think Jahdae Barron.
You don't like this guy at all, huh?
I don't like him as much as I like the corners that are man-to-man type of guys. I don't think that he can be an outside boundary corner in the NFL. I think he could be a very good slot corner, kind of like a safety type of hybrid too, like what the Lions do with Branch.
Yeah.
I think you can move him around. I think he's a great tackler. I just think he's undersized. I don't think he has the speed or the length to really be an outside corner.
I would say he has the length, but yeah, I would say that he's slender. But then again, you do need today in today's NFL, you do need a lot of good slot corners, so there may be
Yeah.
value there.
I think he will be a great player in the NFL. I think he's a great tackler. I just don't think that he can cover people man to man outside, and that's what I would want if I was a general manager. That's the style I would want to play. But I think in zone teams, I think he could be a starter outside.
Okay.
That play a lot of zone.
Let's talk about the quarterbacks real quick, because that's the big sexy position, obviously. And last year there were so many taken. I think through the first 12 rounds, 6 were taken. And that's not going to happen this year. We may even see only 2 taken in the first round. But then again, you might see 3, you might see 4. So it's a foregone conclusion that Cam Ward's going number 1 to Tennessee. How big is the drop off from Cam Ward to Shedeur Sanders to Jackson Dart to the others?
Pretty extreme. I think that the drop off between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders is, I think Cam Ward is, I don't want to say a generational quarterback, but I think he can transform your franchise. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is the same caliber of player. I think will be a good starting quarterback in the league. But I think he's more of, I guess, a facilitator. I think he'll run the offense, where I think Cam Ward can change like everything about your offense. I think so. I mean, do you want to get started on the draft so we can go through?
Well, no. I mean, but just to go more in depth on what you're talking about, you would say I think it's more Cam Ward is the player, like, not that he's the same type of player as these guys, but where Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, a Joe Burrow, a Lamar Jackson elevates your offense.
Yes, he's that type of player.
Exactly. Where Shedeur Sanders, it's predicated on the scheme that he's going to play under.
Yeah, and I think he will be good in the NFL. I think he can execute on a high level. I think he's really good at playing in system, despite their horrible offensive line playing him constantly having to run around and make plays. I think he will be good at getting the ball out on time and accurately. But I think Cam Ward can make every single type of throw that you want. I think he has incredible athleticism, way more than Shedeur Sanders. But then after Shedeur Sanders, I think that there's an extreme drop off to the next guys, where I don't think those next guys will be starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Okay.
Good backups, a lot of them. I think some of them could. I think Kyle McCord could be a starter, but I don't think Jackson Dart will be a starter in the NFL.
Okay, because most people have him as the 3rd best quarterback in this draft. And there's a lot of names thrown out there. I think just people are quarterback desperate. You hear Kyle McCord, you hear Tyler Shook, Jalen Milroe. I mean, if you watch college football, you watch Jalen Milroe, and you would say that he's a good athlete, but I don't think he's a good quarterback just yet. Yeah. He needs a lot of work. But why? Like I watch enough Texas football to know that Quinn Ewers is not a starting quarterback at the next level. But what makes you say that about Jackson Dart?
He reminds me a lot of Kenny Pickett. I think that he is good at that level and he can make accurate throws within that system. But I don't think that he has the arm strength or anything to be a success in the National Football League. I just don't see him being a starter. I could see him being a good backup and maybe stepping in, but I don't think that be a starter in the NFL.
Okay. All right, real quick. So we were talking about every mock draft has Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders at 6. And everybody loves Ashton Jeanty. He's probably the best running back prospect we've seen since maybe Bijan Robinson. But I still think it's nuts for the Raiders to take a running back at 6. And I know you don't have him in your mock draft. I don't have him in my mock draft going to the Raiders at 6. Everyone's kind of looking for clues.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, do you know?
You
thought
changed
long
your tune
and hard
on about this. Yeah,
you changed your tune on this.
I thought it was just a ridiculous way to construct your roster. I thought they had too many holes, and they needed to. I think the shelf life of a running back, and I think the draft value is not as high because of the low value in which they're paid in relation to other players. And I think taking a high draft pick for a running back is not the smartest decision, especially where they are in their roster construction. For a team like the Bears that have a more built out roster, I think it would be a better decision. So I initially had them trading back, but when I thought about who were the best players in this draft, I was watching him back. I think he's too good to pass up. I think he is a fantastic running back, will be one of the best running backs in football. I think he's an immediate game changer, changes the way that their offense runs, changes the way that defenses have to play them. I think that he fits the style of football that they want to play. They like to run the ball, and I think it will help having a play action game based off of it, having a true running back threat. I think it works with their offensive line. They have a strong offensive line that needs a running back, and they can open holes, and they need someone who can go through it. I think he changes the way that teams have to play them. I think he is one of the 4 best players in this draft. I think he's too good to pass up.
Wow. Okay. So somewhere Stephen Langford is listening to this and saying, "I told you so, Derek," because we've been arguing about that. Because I think that despite how good he looks, I think it's kind of insane to draft a running back at 6, given the needs that the Raiders need, or the needs that the Raiders have as far as a cornerback or wide receiver or maybe even offensive line. And I think people are kind of connecting the dots a little bit too much on Pete Carroll and his love for running the football. And, Ashton Genty says that he models his game after Marshawn Lynch. And obviously, Marshawn Lynch played for Pete Carroll. But it's not like they drafted Marshawn Lynch in the first round. They traded for him, and I think they got like a 7th-round pick for him. So I thought it was kind of ridiculous. And I think that you listen to John Spytek talk, and he's like, you got to look at the other rounds. You got to see what you value as far as your position and what you need. Like he was talking about in 2010 when he was working for the Browns, they really wanted to draft TJ Ward, the safety from the Browns that they ended up drafting, but they didn't want to take him in the first round. So it was all contingent on, did you want to draft Eric Berry? Did you want to draft Joe Hayden? And they went with Joe Hayden because they knew that they could find really good safety play in other rounds. That's what I thought with the Raiders when it comes to running back. Ashton Genty is by far the best running back in this draft class, but there's like Omarion Hampton and other guys in this draft class that you could get later on, but they're not Ashton Genty. So it's funny you say that, Nick, because I think you and I were hanging out a couple weeks ago and you were like, why would the Raiders do that? Why the hell would they draft a running back at 6? But now you're changing your tune. Okay.
I just think he's a game changer on offense. I think he just makes your offense way more threatening. I think he opens things up downfield for Brock Bowers and in the passing game. I think he's fantastic. I think he also is just, I don't think there's been a running back I've seen coming out of college football that has the contact balance he has, but I think he also pairs it with just that home run speed. So I think he can threaten your offense wherever he is. I think he can break an 80-yard touchdown to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, though, because from what I know, Chip Kelly has traditionally run an outside zone running scheme, and he is not an outside zone type of player. He's very much like a gap running back where he reminds me like of Le'Veon Bell, where he'll do that kind of very patient before hitting and exploding
slow motion and then go up to the line.
Yeah. So I don't know. They hired Chip Kelly, and it seems as though they wanted to run that type of scheme, but I think he might have to adjust because this player is just so special that he changes their offense.
Okay. I mean, it's funny you mentioned scheme because I thought that too, where I remember Chip Kelly using running backs like LaShawn McCoy or whoever else he's had, in his tenure as either Eagles head coach or 49ers head coach. And I just didn't think the strong power running that Ashton Genty has done at Boise State really translates to what Chip Kelly has done in the past. But maybe that won't be Chip Kelly's scheme. Maybe he'll adjust to what he does better, or maybe Ashton Genty has to adjust. Either way, I was impressed. I mean, I've been impressed with the way he plays. If you watch college football, you've seen Ashton Genty. We watched him up close and personal. We went to San Jose State versus Boise State this last year. But then again, just recently, he sends a letter to every NFL team saying, if you want to draft me or if you want to draft somebody, draft the guy that doesn't get tackled and is going to emulate what Saquon Barkley just did with the Philadelphia Eagles this season, winning a Super Bowl. But speaking of scheme, you and I were talking about it. I'm going to ask you, what player fits what the 49ers want to do the best. I'm not saying who's the most feasible person they're going to draft at 11, but what player makes the most sense with how they run their football team?
So I have an interesting pick going to the 49ers. I do think that they have glaring needs on the defensive line. So I do think that they need a defensive tackle. I do think that they need a defensive end. I think those are the two most glaring needs on their offense or defense. Sorry. But I think that the opportunity that they are in, being this high in the draft, with a certain player that could fall to them, is too good to pass up. Trent Williams is now 36 years old.
Yep.
There's a player who I think is the best offensive tackle in the draft. And had he not been injured, I think he would be a top 4 pick in this draft without a doubt. I have him taking Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle of Ohio State. Yes, I think he looks like Trent Williams. He is just a freak of a human being. He's huge. He's the best pass blocker in this draft easily. His anchor is ridiculous. I don't think that – I like Membu a lot, but I don't think he's anywhere as good as Josh Simmons is.
Wow.
I think his run blocking is also really underrated. He just throws people over. I think he reminds me very much of Trent Williams or Christian Darrisaw. He'd be one of the best offensive tackles. Could be one of the best offensive tackles in football. I think the only thing that is concerning is his patella injury. And I think it very much depends on what the medicals say, what the doctors, how his knee is looking. But I think if that injury had not happened, he was looking like he was the best tackle in college football.
Okay.
So in the 2023 season, he had 800 plus snaps. He gave up 15 pressures, 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. In 4 games, I think he got injured in his 5th one against Michigan. Am I right? 306 snaps, gave up 1 pressure. He was like dominant. There was no one who came close. He's a freak.
Okay. I hear you on that, but it's funny because the last time we spoke, you were all about Armand Membu being the guy for the Niners.
I love Armand Membu. I love me some Armand Membu. I think he would be great in the scheme as well, running the outside zone. I think he's a great pass blocker as well. I think he's the second best pass blocker. He's a great run blocker. But I don't have him falling to them. I think he goes
earlier
in the draft.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So,
and I think there's other positional needs that they have. I think there's a lot of depth at the interior defensive line position. I think there's a lot of guys who could be falling to them where they're kind of drafting in the 2nd round. I think like TJ Sanders, the tackle from Tennessee, Norman Lott, Harmon, the tackle from Oregon. Mm-hmm. I think Walter Nolan as well. I don't think he will be a 1st round draft pick because I think his run game is pretty poor, but I think he's pretty explosive as a 3 tech. I think he would fit kind of the gap shooting kind of scheme that they want to run. I think they have 11 draft picks. That's what tied for the most in this draft. Yep. I think they can make some moves to maybe move up in the 2nd round, early 2nd round to get one of these guys and fill that need. But I think this player is too good to pass up. I think he's your long-term successor to Trent Williams at left tackle.
Well, that's going to be interesting because I know Niner fans, even though they want to address the offensive line and eventually find a successor for Trent Williams, defensive line is a priority just because I don't think they have any starters currently on the defensive line. You could say, Yatir Gross-Matos or Jordan Elliott or Malik Collins are going to be starters, but they were a season ago, and I think you need to upgrade. So that's interesting you say that, Nick. All right, so before we get to your mock draft, what do you use to look at these prospects? Do you, watch tape? Do you watch YouTube clips? Are you using Dane Brugler's The Beast? What do you use to break down these prospects?
I like watching the verses so you can see kind of most of their snaps throughout the game. I think it's a lot better than just watching highlights because, if you watch just Walter Nolan's highlights, he looks like he's a freak. But then when you watch him in like a full game, there's just a ton of plays where it's just like, what are you doing? He
disappears.
Yeah. He shoots a gap and when they're supposed to be run blocking and they break a run right where he's supposed to be. And so that's the way I like to do it. And then, I look at a lot of mocks and try to form my opinion off that. And, I love me some Chris Sims and he's given me some gems that I've incorporated into this. Yeah, that's the way that I like to do it. I'm surprised that the college football lets this happen. You can watch just every snap they have in a game on YouTube, and there's a bunch of all 22 film out there as well. There's a whole accounts that have the entire snap of a player throughout the entire season. I don't know how this is free on YouTube, but yeah, it's a tremendous resource.
Oh no, I mean that's what I use as well. And there used to be something back in the day like Draft Countdown or some website where it wasn't like I had to pay for it. There wasn't a paywall or anything. But yeah, it's a little surprising that college football just lets you do this. But then again, I think there's not a lot of resources, so they let scouts use this as well, even though they have more sources as to look at the all 22 and everything. Just real quick, do you feel the same thing about Derek Harmon as far as his talents at the next level, that he won't be a first round draft pick?
I don't have him going in the first round. I do think he could be a late first round draft pick, but no, I don't have him going in the first round.
All right. Well, we'll have to see where you have Mason Graham and all these other guys at defensive tackle. But let's start, Nick. Let's go with your mock draft. I think we all know who's going number one, but who's going number one?
Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this the other day. Where did this narrative start that Cam Ward was not first overall material? Because if he's not first overall material, I don't know what is. He is fantastic. I think he's just as good as the quarterbacks from last year.
All of them?
I think he's just as good as those top two quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Yes. Without a doubt, I would say.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, would you say that my biggest thing is I don't think he throws the deep ball as well as Shedeur or Jackson Dart, but I will say that everything else, he reads defenses a lot better. He's more mobile. He avoids pressure. I would say, yeah, he's leaps and bounds better than the rest of these guys.
So that was one of the biggest knocks I had against him was they don't really throw like many go balls. You never really see him do it. And when he does, he kind of seems to underthrow it, like a fade, but it's not like going to the house. But I think his arm is clearly the best in the draft. I think it's up there with Caleb Williams. His release is very interesting. I think no one has a quicker release than him in this draft. That sidearm release, it gets out so fast. So there's kind of like this narrative that he's like this gunslinger who like throws a bunch of picks and like can only work outside of a system. I don't see that at all. I think he works really well throwing on time, slants, screens, things like that, quick game. I think nobody does that better than him. And I think the ball like zips out of his hand. I think he can make every single type of throw. He's best when he throws like a fastball over the middle of the field. So I think he's the best thrower over the middle of the field. He throws a lot of seams, crossers, things like that. Yeah, I think he can throw with touch as well. I don't think he does it as well. Yeah, but I think he's fantastic. I think he's incredibly athletic too. He often runs, and it kind of reminds me of Josh Allen in the way that he runs. That he's not like the most explosive, but he looks big and powerful, and he's picking up first downs consistently.
Yeah. I mean, and then we watched him this year, Miami against California. Like sometimes he was just a one-man team, and obviously that's not the case. He's got offensive line and wide receivers, running backs, but his ability to get Miami back into a game when they were down, like their defense wasn't great at all this year. So, yeah, he's very impressive. All right, so then I think the biggest mystery, maybe not so much mystery right now, but people wonder what the Browns and Giants are going to do, and mainly what the Browns are going to do at number 2. So who do you have them taking?
Abdul Carter, the defensive end from Penn State.
Okay, and I would say that some people believe that right now maybe it's just smoke screens, but the way that Andrew Berry talks about Travis Hunter, people think that he's going number 2.
I think he's definitely in the mix. And I think it would not be a wrong pick to do that. I just think that Abdul Carter pairing him with
Myles Garrett,
it would be the best defensive tandem in football.
Yeah.
And I think playing him at weak side defensive end with Myles Garrett at strong side, I don't know how offenses would be able to stop that. I think he's Michael Parsons-ish. His speed is just elite. Every single play, it looks like he's a half yard quicker
Yeah.
than everybody else. I think his bend is ridiculous too. He gets so incredibly low. Yeah, I don't. I think it's something that you can't pass up. I think it also makes more sense for them because I think I really like Travis Hunter, but I think he's kind of like a intermediate type of route runner. Um, and I think his skill set very much matches Jerry Jeudy, where they're not burners. They're not going to like scare you vertically. I think they'll do a lot of their work like around the line of scrimmage underneath with the ball in their hands, kind of as yak receivers. So I don't like that pairing as much, whereas I think that you have your successor, your long-term successor to Myles Garrett. And right now I think it would be like game wreckers together.
I agree with you there. I mean, I think that would be an awesome tandem. I just don't know if they're going to do that. So if I had to give my mock, just to go along with yours, I have Cam Ward going number 1, but I do believe that the Browns are infatuated with Travis Hunter, so I do think they take him number 2. So I'm assuming you have Travis Hunter going to the Giants at 3.
I do.
As you said before, actually.
Yeah. And I'd like the pairing of that better as well. I like him with Malik Neighbors, where I think that Malik Neighbors can take the top off the defense. I think Travis Hunter can do all the work underneath. Yeah, I think that combination for both of those teams works better, I would say.
Yeah, I would say then a lot of people have the Giants taking Abdul Carter number 3, and I would just think it doesn't really fit a need. I would say that they already have Kayvon Thibodeau and how do you say his name? Thibodeau.
Yeah.
And
last year of his contract.
That's true.
His 5th year option's coming up. I don't think that they love him.
Yeah.
What they wanted. I think the issue with taking Abdul Carter is that he's a 250-pound edge. A lot of the edges that we're seeing in football now Nick Bosa is 270 pounds. So is Myles Garrett. There's some big guys. Brian Burns is a similar type of build.
Yeah.
I know you have Dexter Lawrence in the middle, but yeah, I think that teams would be able to run on you. I think that's probably the weakness in Abdul Carter's game is that he's really good at like latching on and like detaching and like quickly swimming to the ball. But I think when they like run at him, I think he kind of gets swallowed up. And yeah, he's a 250-pound edge. So I don't know if having 2 of those on your defensive line would be the smartest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that that's why I would believe, this is what I have in my mock, the Giants actually trade down in the draft.
Whoa.
And the Panthers come up to number 3 to take Abdul Carter 3rd overall.
Wow.
So Giants would go to 8, Panthers would go to 3.
Really? Why do you think the Giants would do that?
I think because I don't think they really want to draft a pass rusher. I think they could get one later on, even if they don't like Kayvon Thibodeau.
None of these pass rushers are even close to Abdul Carter.
I know, but I think they already have that. They obviously traded a couple of draft picks to get Brian Burns, and kind of like what they did with Daniel Jones a year ago. They're kind of going to evaluate Kayvon to see if he's worth bringing back, to see if they want to bring it back on the 5th year option, and then just getting another pass rusher. I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, they just need to save their jobs this year. I think that they are so quarterback hungry that they want to draft somebody, but they're not going to do it at 3rd overall if they don't feel comfortable doing that. Like last year, you saw on the Hard Knocks
you have
show,
them trading back to take Shedeur Sanders at 8?
Possibly. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, Nick. But like you saw last year, like they really wanted to trade up to get Drake May. They really want a quarterback, and I don't think Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy Cutlets solve their quarterback issues. So even though they are on the hot seat, I do think they are desperate to get a quarterback.
So if the Browns take Travis Hunter at 2, I don't think there's any other pick for the Giants, even despite the concerns that I mentioned, than Abdul Carter. I think he's far and away one of the best players in this draft. I think he's one of the best defensive end prospects that we've seen in years, probably since someone like Nick Bosa that's more well-rounded in his game. He's a better run player. I don't think anyone is as explosive as him, as Abdul Carter. I think he is a game wrecker. I don't think you can pass up on him at all.
No, it probably would be stupid for them to do that, to trade up, to pass up on Abdul Carter. But at the same time, I just think it's not a need they have right now. Even though, I mean, he is a generational player, and yes, he is by far the best pass rusher in this draft. I do think that what they need will outweigh, the fact that they can have him at 3. But maybe I'm just kind of overseeing that. What about the Patriots at 4? What do you have?
Armand Membu, the tackle from Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like Will Campbell. I just think that the arm length is a concern. I think we don't see a lot of people with, 32 and 5/8 inch arms. So it'd be on one of the lower arm lengths in football. I think then more than anything, that arm length is really important at that position. I think he'll have trouble. Like if they beat you to the point of attack, I think it totally redirects you. I think, that's a problem. I think that Armand Membu is the safer pick. I think his anchor is better as well. So Will Campbell, a lot of times when he's in pass protection, I think he didn't give up a lot of sacks or pressures, but when you see him latch on to people, a lot of times he's being like kicked back into like the lap of the quarterback. And I think it's concerning. Whereas I think Armand Membu has a lot better anchor. I don't see him getting pushed back very much. His game against Texas A&M, where he went up against Scourton and Shamar Stewart, who were two of the top edge prospects in the draft, I think he was dominant. So I think he's one of the best pass protectors in this draft. I think he's a freak in space too. It's interesting the type of scheme that they're going to run on offense. So Vrabel at Tennessee kind of ran an outside zone. McDaniel ran more of a gap scheme previously. I don't know if they want to incorporate elements from both of them. I think he can do both. So his PFF grade is 82.4 in man gap running scheme, and then 87.4 in inside zone. So he's one of the best run blockers in the draft. I think he would be best in outside zone because he's so athletic when you get him in space. He ran a 4.5 40 and 1.74 10-yard split. So I think he's a freak athlete. But I think regardless of the offensive scheme, he's just too good of a pass protector to pass up on. I think Will Campbell presents legitimate concerns that are scary. I think that a lot of people are like, well, if he can't play tackle, then you could always move him to guard. And I don't think at number 4 overall is where you should be drafting a guard. I think that's traditionally reserved for tackles, so that high of a pick.
Okay, very, very impressive, dude. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Armand Membu primarily played right tackle.
Yes, he did. I've heard that he was practicing at Missouri at left tackle, that he would practice in both positions. But, he only played right tackle at Missouri.
And Will Campbell played left tackle.
Will Campbell played left tackle, yes. But okay. I don't think it's a concern. I think he's such a freak athlete that you can move him day one to play left tackle. They also signed Morgan Moses to play right tackle.
Yes.
I know Morgan Moses is, old. I think it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I believe so.
But I don't think that is a concern. I think you can move him to play left tackle, and I would be a lot more comfortable with it than someone with shorter arms.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I would say that Armand Membu is the more impressive prospect. But just from what I've seen on mock drafts and everything, I do think that Will Campbell goes number 4 to the Patriots.
Yeah,
just because he's played left tackle. I think that it's an easier transition for him. But yes, there are concerns with the short arms in his game as opposed to Armand Membu, but maybe it's an easier transition for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike was talking about it, and he was like, well, he dominated. He was the best pass protector in the SEC.
Right.
Which is, the highest level of competition in college football, most comparable to the NFL. So he was like, very much, if you can do it there, why can't he do it in football? Or the National Football League? But I think that, I don't know, it's a different beast in the NFL. I think a lot of these guys are bigger, longer, stronger, faster. I think his arm length will present real difficulties.
Okay.
I think it's a concern that is too large to take him at number 4. Whereas I don't think that Armand Membu has those same concerns.
No, he does not. But Will Campbell even addressed them and saying, like, it's never been an issue for me for most of my college career, so why would it be an issue now? And that's for talent evaluators to discuss. But I mean, I've heard enough people bring that up. But a lot of people do have Will Campbell going 4. We'll just see if he's the first offensive tackle taken.
Do you have them taking Campbell at 4?
I went with Will Campbell at 4 for the Patriots. So who do you have at number 5 for the Jacksonville Jaguars? A lot of people have Mason Graham.
Mason Graham, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he fits with their defensive line perfectly with Armstead, and I think it's instantly one of the best defensive lines in football. I think that him and Armstead are both gap shooters. I think they can kind of run a scheme really similar to what the 49ers do, where everyone kind of just shoots their gap.
Yeah.
I think he is one of the blue chip like prospects in this draft. Without a doubt, I think he's too good to pass up on.
Now, you and I were watching him in my apartment a couple weeks ago, and while he was impressive, I would say like maybe in other drafts, he wouldn't be the highest rated defensive lineman. I mean, obviously that's Abdul Carter in this draft, but 5th overall, are you that impressed when you watch him?
Yeah, I think he can be a 10 sack type of defensive tackle.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see that in his game.
Yeah, I think that's the best part of his game is his pass rushing ability. He's a gap shooter. He's extremely quick. I think he's a really good run defender too.
I would say that's probably his strongest attribute is run defense.
Well, he's not as big as someone like Kenneth Grant. So he's like 310, 315 pounds. He's very much like short and stocky and explosive. He is a good run defender, but he's good at he's not like doesn't like occupy as much space as someone like Kenneth Grant does. So I don't think he'd be like a 2-gapper.
Yeah.
I think he's very much like a gap shooter, a pass rusher, but also I think that's the way he stops the run is his quickness and getting to the running back in the backfield.
And he's not big enough to be a nose tackle. Like in a 3-4 Jacksonville Jaguars defensive scheme, he would be the base defensive end next to whoever their nose, and Eric Armstead's on the other side. I would presume.
In the base defense, well, I think that they would run Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead, and him. Yeah.
But do they?
Like, do they need like a nose tackle type of defensive lineman?
I'm pretty sure they run a 3-4, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to say he would be the defensive end in that scenario, where he would be opposite the nose tackle.
They play him a lot. Are you saying like what? Like a three technique?
Yeah. Well, 3-3-4. Like he would be next to Trayvon Walker or Josh Allen. Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and on rundowns, but I think teams play so much in their nickel that it's basically become their base defense. I mean, they're in that more than they are in their base. So in rundowns, I think then they often kick him out to defensive end, and he looks good rushing at defensive end. They play him all over the place, though. They'll play him at nose tackle on passing downs, like head up on the tackle, on the center. They play him head up on guards, and then they'll play him on the outside shoulder of tackles. He's a freak. I think he's too explosive to pass up on at number 5.
I mean, that's the biggest thing that I saw when I watched him was his versatility, the way they were able to use him in so many different defensive, formations, and he was all over the defensive line. So that definitely what makes him stand out. Okay, and you said you have Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders at 6.
You have Mason Graham going to Jacksonville as well at 5?
Yes, I do. I have Mason Graham going to the Jaguars at 5. So I thought about this, and I do wonder if the Giants trade down, would the Raiders be inclined to take Shedeur Sanders at 6? And even though in recent years we've seen Mark Davis infatuated with him and Tom Brady, I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on him. I just don't think that they, with trading for Geno Smith, they'll address the quarterback situation in other rounds. I do think they trade. I do think they select Will Johnson at 6, but that may be too high for the type of player he is. But you have Ashton Jeanty going 6.
I do have Ashton Jeanty going 6, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the Raiders like Geno. I think Pete Carroll likes Geno. Yeah. What did they give him, a 3-year deal?
They gave him a 3-year deal for about $42 million a year. So that's definitely starter money, but you could also get off that contract in time. So I don't know if he's the long-term quarterback. Like it's the same thing with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. You give him the contract, he'll be there for a little bit of time, but that doesn't necessarily preclude you from drafting a quarterback. I just don't think they'll do it in the first round.
Yeah, there's too many other needs that I don't think that is a smart investment of their draft capital, having 2 quarterbacks, when I think Geno is a starter.
Yeah. But that's why it makes me kind of hesitant for them to draft Ashton Genty at 6. But then again, Ashton Genty is, I mean, if he goes 6, he'll be the highest drafted running back since Saquon going 2nd overall to the Giants. And I think Ashton Genty's really good, but he's not Saquon, where I don't think he's going to be a game changer in the passing game. But running, he's
he's not
incredible.
involved in Boise State's passing game very much now.
So that's the one thing where I'm like, is he really worth taking 6 overall? But then again, if you need a running back, you need a running back. And, I'm not trying to devalue running backs. Obviously, the Eagles won the Super Bowl because they signed Saquon Barkley. It just seems kind of crazy to me that they would draft a running back that high at 6, even though it is Ashton Genty.
I wanted to mention this earlier. I also think it's a little bit concerning the way that he runs and his frame. Mm-hmm. He's a small guy, but he's so muscly, but he runs in such a violent manner. And he's not like a Saquon's kind of can be like a cutter. Mm-hmm. He's very much like a slasher where it's not like jump cuts. It's like quick little movements where he's getting hit, but he's like shrugging off people.
Right.
So, I mean, when you watch him play at Boise State, he's getting hit all the time. And his contact balance is just ridiculous that he keeps like pushing his legs and keeps moving. But I would be concerned the amount of hits that he took at Boise State, how little he is. Taking him at 6, I'd be worried that this is the type of player who could, with bigger, stronger people in the NFL that are moving at faster speeds, that he could get hurt. But I just think he's too good of an opportunity to pass up on. I think he's just a legitimate threat on offense that changes their offense completely.
All right. Who do you have the Jets taking at 7?
I have the Jets taking Tyler Warren. Yeah. And he's not my favorite tight end. I've seen
Colston Loveland?
Colston Loveland is probably my favorite player in this entire draft.
Because he equal parts blocking and receiving?
Yes. I think he is the best receiving tight end I've seen coming out of the draft. Maybe ever. I think he's like Brock Bowers, but he's in the same mold as those type of guys. Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta. I'll talk about him in a second.
Okay.
The reason I have the Jets taking Tyler Warren is I think it's just a better fit for their current quarterback situation. So when you watch Tyler Warren, a lot of the way he gets the ball is like shovel passes.
Yeah.
A lot of like quick things around the line of scrimmage, and he just uses his yak ability. And I think that's a good safety blanket for Justin Fields. I think it allows you to keep the chains moving pretty consistently without having to have Justin Fields drop back and throw it deep down the field. And I think he's a good blocker when you get him moving in space. As like they use him like kind of like as a pulling guard where they get him like blocking downfield, not very much in line. Mm-hmm. And he just bulldozes people. And I think that will be good with the type of offense that they're trying to run, kind of like a read option with Justin Fields. You can get him moving as like a fullback in front of him. I think it will be pretty successful.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Warren was incredible a year ago. Watching him against USC, I think he had over 200 yards receiving, and I don't know how many catches, but I think of the play he had where he lined up as center, snapped the ball, and then went out for a pass and caught a touchdown. The guy's incredible.
Yeah,
but there are concerns with his blocking ability.
Well, I have a legitimate concerns with his receiving, his route running. I don't think he's a very good route runner at all.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It's not incredible.
He's not very fast. He reminds me a ton of Gronk. He looks a ton like Gronk, where he's just like so big and strong, and his ability to snag the ball out of the air is ridiculous that you can kind of just toss it up to him. But I think he will have difficulty creating separation in the NFL, where these dudes are just bigger, stronger, and faster.
Okay, I mean that makes a ton of sense. I've seen a lot of people say that should be the move for the Jets at 7, considering that Brock Bowers was in the mix a year ago for the Jets in the first round. But they went with, correct me if I'm saying this guy's name wrong, Olu Fashanu, the Penn State
left tackle from Oregon State.
Oregon State. Well, was it Oregon State?
Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of Talisa Fuaga from.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So they have him, but Tyron Smith retired. Morgan Moses left for New England. They definitely need offensive line help because Aaron Rodgers was getting knocked on his ass a ton a season ago. So I'm going to go with Armand Membu at 7. Mm-hmm. And if it's, if you could flip-flop him, if Will Campbell ends up going or doesn't go to the Patriots at 4, it's Membu, then I would say Will Campbell at 7. But I do think that the Jets need to address their offensive line needs. Okay, who do you got the Panthers taking at 8?
Which do you think that the Jets will take Will
Armand
Campbell
Membu.
if Armand Membu is not available?
Yes.
And they'll play him where? Right tackle?
Well, yeah, Olu Fashanu would play left. I mean, or they could switch him up. I think Olu. I think he played right tackle at Penn State. I could be wrong. I think it's interchangeable. Honestly, if Armand ends up going 4, then maybe the Jets take Will Campbell at 7.
Okay. And you just think it's a better positional fit than, because I don't think they have who's their tight end on their roster right now?
Great question.
Conklin left.
Conklin went to the Chargers.
I don't think they have a tight end on their roster that's a starter.
No, they do not. But that's a position. I mean, I would say that, yeah, Warren is amazing. I still wonder about people selecting him as a top 10 tight end because even Brock Bowers didn't go top 10 a year ago. So I think that's a position that they could address in later rounds or maybe even through free agency. But yeah, I do think they address the offensive line. All right, who do you got the Panthers taking at 8?
So I didn't have any trades in my draft originally. I think that this is a place where you could see a trade occur. I could see the 49ers trading up to take Simmons. I could see Carolina trading back to 11 and still getting their guy. So the player I have them drafting, whether here or at 11, if they trade back, is Mike Green, the defensive end from Marshall, who I think is on the same caliber of player as Abdul Carter. He's really, really similar in the way that he plays. So he's kind of a similar speed rusher. I just think he has more. He's not as fast as Abdul Carter, but has way more like varieties in the way that he rush. Abdul Carter, like if he doesn't rush you with speed, I hold on like a swim move, but there's nothing else that he really does. Where Mike Green is doing everything. He rushes with power as well. I think he looks fantastic. I think they need pass rush badly. I think he kind of fits the way their offense is or defense is constructed right now, where they have a lot of big guys in the middle of their defensive line. So I think it's easier to run kind of a slimmer pass rusher off the edge. I think he's really similar to Brian Burns, who they took a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Green was very impressive when I watched him. I would say as far as like a pure pass rusher, I like Abdul Carter, I like Mike Green, and I like James Pierce from Tennessee. The one thing about Mike Green, I would say, is he's kind of undersized, and he played at Marshall where he didn't go up against the best talent in all of college football. And he was kind of playing more in a 4-3 scheme, so I think that would be the best for him in the NFL. I have the Panthers I have them trading up to get Abdul Carter, so I have the Giants at number 8, and I have them taking Shedeur Sanders at number 8.
Wow. So what about Shedeur Sanders makes you think that he's worth taking as a top 10 quarterback? I like Shedeur Sanders a lot. I think when you're taking a quarterback in the top 10, I think they need to be a game-changing type of player.
I would agree.
I don't see that from him.
I would agree, but also I would say that just the desperation of some teams when it comes to quarterback, you just take one because you need one. And I think the Giants have been flirting with wanting a new quarterback for quite some time. That I think in order for Brian Dable and Joe Shane to save their jobs, they need to at least show that they're trying to get the next guy up and ready. And even if they're not there, then the next regime can work with him. And I do think Brian Dable is that good of an offensive play caller. I know it hasn't shown a lot because he's dealt with a lot of crappy quarterbacks. I do think that he could find a right scheme for Shedeur Sanders. So I think
their offense will be better with Shedeur Sanders than it would be with just Russ or Jameis pairing up Malik Neighbors with someone like a Travis Hunter?
I would say that
I don't even think it's close. I would not do that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I just think that they flirted with quarterback for too long now to not get one in the first round. Maybe they have other needs, but I think maybe the owner plays a role in this as well, of how desperate they are for a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Russell Wilson has been incredible though. At the same time, Nick, like it seems to go like he started off hot and then just fizzled down the stretch there. And I don't think just because he has Malik Neighbors means that he's going to be great in this season.
I think he could be a competent enough stopgap quarterback for a year until this next year's draft, where a lot of people like these quarterbacks that are going to be coming out.
Yeah, but I don't know.
That it buys them enough time. You can win enough games to keep your job.
I don't know. I don't know if they have enough time though. I don't know if they have enough time.
I mean, I think Joe Shane might if he takes Travis Hunter, and Travis Hunter has 1,000 yards receiving and is rookie of the year, offensive rookie.
Well, that's
of the
the thing. If Travis Hunter is available at 3, I think it's a no-brainer. But I do think I think the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter, so I think that they'll think, God, do we really want to take Abdul Carter? Even though he is incredible, they already have the pass rush. I do think that they'll end up taking a quarterback. So yeah, I have them taking Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
All right. Who you got the Saints taking at 9?
Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU.
Ooh.
I think so. I think they could be in the mix for Shedeur. But I think that Kellen Moore ultimately will want to wait and see what he has in the quarterback room right now.
Yeah.
And then see what maybe they can do next year where the quarterback prospects might be better than what they are right now. And I think Will Campbell fits what the types of offenses that he's run in Dallas and in Philadelphia, where they value people in the trenches. I think that you could play him at left tackle and you can move Fuaga to right tackle where he played at Oregon State. And I think that if in training camp, if you think that he's better at guard, then I think you could put him at left guard and you could have the left side of your defense set for 10 years and then go get a quarterback next year. I could see them trading back from this position as well. I don't think that their team is going to be very good. I think Kellen Moore has some grace time. This is his first year as the head coach. So I think they could trade back, but I think building the offensive line similar to what they've done in the past in Dallas and in Philadelphia is what he'll want to do.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think a lot of people are connecting the dots with Derek Carr being out there saying, oh, I have shoulder problems, I may not play this season. It sounds like that's not really that big of a concern. He's just doing it because he wants to get the hell out of New Orleans. And I don't think that Kellen Moore had the intention when he took this job of getting a quarterback right away. I think they have so many salary cap situations on this team that they're just going to evaluate the current quarterbacks on the roster. So whether that's Derek Carr, whether that's Spencer Rattler, whether that's Jake Haener, I think that Kellen Moore will just go into the season evaluating these quarterbacks and then get the one he really wants. And also the Saints haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round, I think, since like 1970 when they got Archie Manning. So I don't think they do it here. I do think they select Jalen Walker, the outside linebacker, pass rusher from Georgia, who I think would fit their scheme. I think Brandon Staley in the past did a 3-4 defense, and I think that right now, currently on their roster, I don't know anybody that could play that position. I know that Cam Jordan came back for a season, but he's always been a traditional 4-3 defensive end. So if they're trying to go with that scheme and have some versatility, I do think they go with Jalen Walker. All right. Who do you have the Chicago Bears taking at 10?
My favorite player in the draft, Colston Loveland.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he is perfect for them. I think they'll run a ton of 2 tight end sets with him and Kmet. I think he's like a wide receiver in a tight end's body. I think he's looks big, but I think he's incredibly fast. He bursts off the line of scrimmage. His route running is fantastic. He's incredibly smooth. He has legitimate speed where he can threaten you in the seam as a vertical threat. He ran all types of routes at Michigan. I think he's fantastic. He's a great blocker, I think. He's more of an inline blocker than Brock Bowers, who they get blocking more in space and upfield. I think that he plays really physical. Michigan ran the ball 1 million times. There's a ton of film of him as a run blocker. And I think he looks kind of skinny, but I think he will fill out as he gets older. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a Brock Bowers I think he'll be their Sam Laporta. I think he could legitimately catch 10 touchdowns as a rookie, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with how Ben Johnson wanted to use his tight ends in Detroit, and I mean they fixed the offensive line to a degree. There may still be question marks at left tackle to see if they like Braxton Jones enough,
But
but
I don't think it's worth moving on from him right now. I think they could wait and see what they have with Braxton Jones right now rather than drafting
yeah, but I don't know
a
how long
left
they want to
tackle
wait and see
already.
when how much Caleb Williams got sacked a season ago, and then
Well,
they go
the
ahead.
rest of their line has been patched up pretty well, though.
Yeah, I know, but also I saw Braxton Jones get beat for 3 sacks against Yetur Gross-Matos, and he's not even that great of a pass rusher.
No.
So I hear you on that, though. Colson Loveland makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go, though, with Ashton Genty at 10. I think that Chicago wants to run the football. That's what Ben Johnson did with the Detroit Lions. His running schemes were incredible with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So right now, I think that they do this. They try to do the same thing with DeAndre Swift and Ashton Genty. I think they have a good 1-2 punch there in the running back room. Who do you have the Niners taking at 11?
As I said before,
Oh,
I had Josh
Josh
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. I like that. I think the Niners actually trade down here.
Really?
And
Why?
because who they like may not be the right move at 11 as far as value and, trying to accumulate more picks for future years.
I mean, they have
Um,
11 draft picks in this draft.
yeah, I know, but they need to get a lot of starters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So I think they trade down. They trade with the Indianapolis Colts. Colts move up to 11 to take Tyler Warren out of Penn State. I think that the Colts have been wanting a tight end for a while. They have Mo Alley Cox, but nobody else really that's great. I think that Tyler Warren would fit that scheme perfectly. So, yeah, I got the Colts taking him.
Okay.
All right. And who you got the Dallas Cowboys taking 12?
So I don't know necessarily if they will take him. I could see the Dallas Cowboys trading back. I feel like they often like to trade back in the draft.
Okay.
I originally watched this player and I did not love him. And I watched his 2024 tape and I thought he looked incredibly athletic, but I was underwhelmed by the amount of routes he ran downfield. And then I watched his games from 2023 and I think he is fantastic.
You talking about my guy?
I'm talking about Luther Burden III, the wide receiver from Missouri. He is a faster Deebo Samuel. He is incredible. His ability, his incredible acceleration and contact balance. His touchdown against Syracuse, where he runs from the right side of the field all the way across the left side of the field, burns everybody, is ridiculous. He's incredibly fast. He's really shifty in tight spaces as well. He's strong. Yeah, I think that he did not look the best in 2024. Their quarterback, I guess, had a wrist injury, and every single play is kind of a gadget play, a jet sweep or a reverse or something like that. They didn't throw the ball to him downfield. I think when you watch his 2023 play, it's way better. He's a fantastic route runner. I think he's a legitimate threat vertically. He runs like an insane slot fade. Yeah, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he also alleviates some of the concerns they have in the run game where they can get him the ball, like quick screens, reverses, things like that. And it kind of simulates, I guess, a running game similar to what the 49ers do or did with Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, he's definitely a gadget player. I initially watched him, and I wasn't a huge fan, as you said. But you and I watched him together, and I was like, all right, I could see his game a little bit better now. I actually don't have him going in the first round.
Wow.
But,
Okay.
but I do think he's impressive, and I respect to you for going with an unconventional mock draft here. I have them taking Shamar Stewart, though, at 12. I
Yeah.
think that they need somebody out, to line up with Micah Parsons on the defensive line. They just signed back Dante Fowler, but that's not good enough. So, yeah, I think they go with Shamar Stewart, defensive end out of Texas A&M. Who do you have the Miami Dolphins taking at 13?
I have them taking Kelvin Banks Jr. So they have a real need across their entire line, but especially at left tackle. There's a concern similarly to Will Campbell of whether he can play tackle, but I think he looks awesome in the run game. I think he's explosive in space. I think he flattens people. I think he's perfect for their zone run scheme, similar to what Texas ran. I think he could fill in as a stopgap at left tackle, and then potentially you could move him to guard if he's not the best out there. I think Mike McDaniel could, fix him up, I guess, and improve some of his technique. I don't think his anchor is the best. I think he gets pushed back a lot in pass protection. Maybe that's a product of his short arms, but I think that maybe with some technique work, I think he could be a starting left tackle. But I think he'd be dominant in the run game. I think they need to improve their run game. I think that's what their whole offense is kind of predicated on, is successful play actions off of outside zone runs, opening up space downfield.
You and I are simpatico on this one. I got the Miami Dolphins taking Kelvin Banks, and he was a guard at Texas, but he can play left tackle if they need him to. So, yeah, with Teron Armstead retiring this offseason, they definitely need help on that offensive line, even though they addressed that need a season ago. I forget who they drafted. I think the guy out of Houston. I forget his name. But, they definitely need help on the offensive line. All right, who do you got the Colts taking at 14?
I have the Colts taking Gray Zabel. So they lost their center and their right guard. I think that similar to the Dolphins, their bread and butter is the biggest strength of their football team is running the ball. I think he looks awesome in space as a run blocker. I think he's a starting guard. He played left tackle at North Dakota State, but at the Senior Bowl, they played him at center. They played him at right guard, left guard. They played him all around, and he looked awesome, both in pass protection, but also as a run blocker. I think he is awesome. He dominated at North Dakota State. Last year, he gave up 9 pressures and just 2 sacks. I know it's a lower level of competition, but I think he, is a starting guard in the NFL. I think he will do it at an extremely high level too.
All right, I like it. Yeah, considering that they lost Ryan Kelly and Will Fries to the Minnesota Vikings, that makes that makes a ton of sense there. But I had a trade there, and I have the Niners going down to 14, and I have them taking defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon at 14. I just think Derek Harmon, to me, flashes a little bit more when I watch him. He's bigger than Walter Nolan. Both guys could be really good at the next level. There are a lot of deficiencies in both of their games, but I think it's hard to ignore just how desperately they need a defensive tackle when their run defense has been putrid in the last year. Dre Greenlaw is gone. Fred Warner's going to need a ton of help. So, I think they address defensive tackle, and they've had success drafting Oregon defensive tackles in the past with DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. I think they do it again and take Derek Harmon.
Okay.
All right, who do you have at 15? Who's 15? Atlanta.
I have the Atlanta Falcons. I think they need a pass rusher.
Yep.
And I have them taking Shamar Stewart. So I listened to Chris Sims, and he loves Shamar Stewart. He raves about him and thinks that he could be a Hall of Fame level player. I don't see that. I see a lot of flash from him. But his physical ability is clearly there. He's 6'5", 270 with 34-inch arms. He's cut from stone. But I don't think that he was consistent enough as a pass rusher. I think he's disruptive at times, but I think there's other times where he totally just gets stood up. I think, if I remember correctly, the game against Missouri did not look very good. I think it was Kentucky as well. So I think he's flashy. I think he has the physical abilities similar to someone like Trayvon Walker from Georgia a couple years ago. But I would be a little bit concerned. But the way that they played him too, at Texas A&M was weird. He lined up kind of head up on the tackle, or very much right on the outside shoulder. I think his speed is insane. I think he has the quickest time to pressure rate, even faster than Abdul Carter in all of college football last year. He looks explosive. They never really let him rush like that. So I think in the NFL, when you spread him out wider, I think he could be good as a pass rusher. But he looks like he's a good run player as well because of his size and his strength. So I have him taking Shamar Stewart.
I have the Falcons going pass rusher too, but Shamar Stewart's already off my board. So I have them taking Mykel Williams from Georgia, even though I will say I really don't like his game. I think that he's very raw. He looks the part, but he doesn't look like he knows what he's really doing out there. He just runs around and makes plays. Jalen Walker was the better player, hands down. But this guy needs a ton of work. I do think, though, the Georgia connection, the fact that he'll fit their scheme as an outside linebacker in a 3-4. I think they go and they desperately need pass rush because they decided not to address that need a year
Do
ago.
you
Went
think
with
he
Michael
fits their
Penix.
scheme as an outside linebacker? So they were going to run the Jets kind of scheme, aren't they? Jeff Ulbricht's coming in.
Yes.
I would imagine they'd want more of a stand-up speed type of edge rusher. And he
Well,
seems
okay,
more,
hold on. Are they definitely running?
Gary.
Are they definitely running a 4-3 as opposed to a 3-4?
I thought so. I thought that they're no, are they not?
That would make sense. That would make sense with sorry, who's the new defensive coordinator coming in from the Jets?
Jeff Ulbrich, yeah.
Jeff Ulbrich. That would make sense. But I just think that with what Raheem Morris has run in the past too, he's traditionally he's done 3-4 with the Rams, the Falcons a season ago. But maybe they change it up. I'm not sure actually. Okay. Now that you mention it. But if that's the case, then yeah, maybe he doesn't fit their scheme. Maybe I fucked this whole thing up. Anyway, who do you have the Arizona Cardinals taking at 16?
Will Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they need a pass rusher as well. They signed Josh Sweat. I also could see them taking an interior defensive lineman. I really like Kenneth Grant a lot. But I think Will Johnson is the best player available. Yeah, I think he can't play man-to-man. He's more of his own corner, but I think he's just too good to pass up at that position. And I think if it's a need for their team as well, I think they need a talent in their secondary.
Yeah, they did sign Sean Murphy-Bunting in this offseason to kind of address the cornerback position, but they definitely need, younger, better play there. But you mentioned interior defensive line help. I have them taking Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, at 16.
Okay. Are you concerned at all about Walter Nolan in the run game?
Yeah. It's not a strong suit, but neither it is for Derek Harmon a little bit. Although he's bigger and kind of fit into those gaps better.
I think Walter Nolan looks flashy as a pass rusher, but I think there's so many times where he's just going upfield when he needs to stay in his gap. Well, a lot of running right at the space where he just was, and it's like, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like him 11 for the Niners, and I think that may be too soon to draft him there.
I think so too. I think that they could get him in the second round. I think he could go at the end of the first, but yeah. I think.
Okay, who do you have the Bengals taking at 17?
I have them taking Jahad Campbell. So I think they want a pass rusher with everything going on with Trey Hendrickson. I know that Jermaine Pratt requested to be traded. It sounds like they might cut him if they can't trade him. Yeah. So I think they have a need at linebacker. I think he is the best player available. I could see him going earlier. I could see him going to potentially the 49ers at 11. I think he's that good of a player. He reminds me a lot of Dre Greenlaw. He's great in pass protection. He flies around the field. I think at times his decision-making is poor of when to go. He kind of seems like he's running around so fast. He runs in the wrong gap and they kind of go around him. But he flies sideline to sideline. And I think he, better than Jalen Walker, excels as a pass rusher. So I think you can move him to play. He can play middle linebacker, outside linebacker. And I think you can move him on pass rushing downs to rush off the edge. He does it all the time for Alabama, and he's extremely fast, incredible bend. Yeah, I love Jahad Campbell.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you selected Jalen Walker at all yet?
I have not selected Jalen Walker yet. I think he's better at both positions than Jalen Walker is. I don't think Jalen Walker is a very good linebacker.
Really?
I don't think so. I think he flashes as a pass rusher, but I think Jahad Campbell looks just as good, and he's better at linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, he's a true linebacker. They also lined it up at multiple positions. He could be a rush end too. But, I mean, honestly, I watched him, and I was like, damn, he's a really good player. I just don't know if you drafted a linebacker that high anymore. Like, I thought about him for the Raiders at 6. Niners would be good too. It's the same thing with running back. I don't know if you draft that position that high anymore.
I think it's a positional need depending on what Jermaine Pratt's going to do. I don't know if there's any edge rushers at that position who are as good as he is. Yeah. I think he kind of kills two birds with one stone.
No, I mean, I totally get that. He's a versatile player, but I do think the Cincinnati Bengals are in desperate need of pass rush. So I have them taking Mike Green, the defensive end for Marshall there. And I think he fits that scheme. They're going to play a 4-3. And I think that with Sam Hubbard retiring, and I do believe, I don't think they can make it work with Trey Hendrickson, with them paying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this offseason. I would not be the least bit surprised if Trey Hendrickson gets dealt before the draft. So that's why I think they take Mike Green at 17. Who do you have the Seahawks taking 18, Nick?
Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama.
Okay.
So I think, there's a premium on offensive line. I think there's just a shortage of great offensive linemen in football. There's just a plethora of great defensive linemen. I think it's a position that every team needs and wants. I think they'll try to get it early in this draft. And I think that I think he'll be a starter at right guard for them. I think they've had struggles running the ball in their interior offensive line play. I think that's how they want to construct their offense, running the ball with Kenneth Walker, play actions off of it. I think it's improves the strength of their football team. I don't know if he's great in space as some of the other guards. He seems like he's kind of just like a huge space eater that people just can't get around in pass protection. But I think it's a need on their football team that they can't ignore.
I would agree. I think their offensive line needs a lot of help. But considering this offseason of them trading away DK Metcalf and releasing Tyler Lockett, I do believe they need to address the wide receiver position. And they did. They have Jackson Smith-Njigba, and they signed Cooper Kupp and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but they don't have a big body wide receiver right now. So this is where I think Teteroa McMillan goes at 18. And I'm not a huge fan of him. I know everybody has him as like wide receiver 1 in this draft. He's impressive. He could definitely be a red zone monster, but his speed is not incredible. But given that they have faster wide receivers, I think they get by with that. So they go get the big body wide receiver from Arizona, Teteroa McMillan.
Yeah.
All right. And then at 19, who is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Who do you got?
I have Jalen Walker going there. I think he fits their team. He'll play 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he can drop into coverage for them. He's not my favorite player, but I think he looks incredibly athletic. He has incredible speed. I think he looks strong. His power looks really good. I think they have a need at pass rusher. I have them taking him. I think Jahad Campbell fits better for them as a Levante David replacement or successor, I guess. But I don't think he'll be there for them. But I could see them maybe potentially trading up to get Jahad Campbell. But I think if he's not there, I think Tampa needs an edge rusher, and I think he fits with their style of play.
I like Jahad Campbell a lot for the Buccaneers. I think that makes a ton of sense. But for whatever reason, I think that, a lot of reasons, they need cornerback help. They don't have a lot of corners on that team right now. I think they draft Jahdae Barron from Texas at 19. All right. And then at 20, what do you have the Denver Broncos doing?
Then I have Teteroa McMillan going. I don't love him. I don't think I like the speed guys. I think those are the guys that are worth taking in the first round. The guys that can separate. So like the guys from last year, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, can run by you and stretch the field. Or someone like Travis Hunter that can create separation consistently through his route running ability. I think Teteroa McMillan is a good player. I think he'll be a good player in the league. I just don't know if he'll be one of the best receivers in football. I think he's often being compared to Drake London and being talked about as if he's like a first top 10 draft pick. And when I think that I hear that, I think that's crazy. I don't think anyone would say Drake London is one of the best wide receivers in football. I like Drake London. I think he's improved a lot as a route runner. I think Drake London is a way better route runner than Teteroa McMillan is.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think, Teteroa McMillan is best as an outside receiver, as like a true X. What would you say? I think he'd probably run like a 4.5.
He's just not that fast. He doesn't have blazing speed. He will be physical with cornerbacks in jump ball situations. I think that's what he's going to be great at. But I mean, when the comp is Drake London, you're like, okay, that's the best you could do. So
I like Drake London. I just would not take him in the top 10 of the draft. I think it was a mistake for Atlanta to do so.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I
Yeah.
think Denver needs help at wide receiver. But I think
Yeah.
they need help more at running back. I have them taking Omarion Hampton here from North Carolina. I just think that I don't even know who's on the roster right now, running back wise. That one guy, 38, McLaughlin or whatever.
Yeah. Javonte
But
Williams left, didn't he?
Javante went to the Cowboys, so I think they want to address the running back position
Yeah,
there.
I could see that as well. I also think that if one of the tight ends are there, I could see them taking one of the tight ends, and I could also see them taking Luther Burden. I think that would
Okay.
fit really well. Yeah, but I think that they need. I don't know. Is Cortland Sutton? They're talking about maybe getting rid of him next year. They don't know if they're going to extend him.
Yeah, I mean, they always talk about that, but I mean, the Niners actually wanted to trade for him in the offseason in order to move Brandon Ayuk, but the Broncos didn't want to move off of him, and he's the only veteran wide receiver on the team. There's a couple of years left on his contract, I want to say, or maybe just one. I've always heard about trade conversations with Cortland Sutton, but nothing ever happens, so I think they just stick with him.
Yeah.
All right, 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of mystery going on with them. Have no idea when the fuck Aaron Rodgers is signing. So, do they go quarterback or they go somewhere else here?
They're done with it. They're sick of Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to wait around forever for him. I think the team is done with it. I think Mike Tomlin's done with it, and I think that they take Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
I think he fits with them really well. What they want to do, just moving the chains, not turning the ball over. I think he's a good deep ball thrower. I think he can get the ball in the hands of TK Metcalf quickly and let him run in space. Yeah, I think he's a good fit for them.
That makes a ton of sense. I don't think Shedeur falls all the way to 21. So I've been invested in this Aaron Rodgers saga for way too long, and that Pat McAfee interview pissed me off. But for whatever reason, I don't think that changes the Pittsburgh Steelers' mentality when it comes to quarterback. I was listening to an interview with Jerry Dulock, who's their beat reporter, and he's like, they understand that Aaron Rodgers is going to wait, and they're fine with that, and they're willing to wait on him until he says yes, and he's going to be their quarterback. And he keeps bringing up defensive line, and that's something I've heard a lot with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They want to find somebody that's going to fill in for Cam Hayward when he retires. So I have them taking Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan, at 21, which I think would help them defensively. But yeah, I mean, the question marks for quarterback are definitely there. So I would like them to take a quarterback, but I don't think they will. I think we have a lot of people scratching their head and be like, what the hell are they doing here? And eventually they might get Aaron Rodgers in the summertime. I think they'll probably draft a quarterback in the second round. Maybe, or they actually don't have a second round pick because they traded for DK Metcalf. So you would think they desperately need to draft a quarterback in the first round, but
yeah,
I just don't see it.
It doesn't seem like a recipe for success. Your quarterback's not like considering playing football. You don't know whether he's in or he's out, how long he's going to play. I don't think that I don't know. They can wait around forever for him. And I think that they've had to thus far because there's no options really in the market. I mean, they could trade for Kirk Cousins, but I don't think that they will or want to. I think
I don't think they want to, but I think that's break glass, a case of emergency, because I don't think the Falcons will move off of Kirk Cousins anytime soon. So I think they have that in their back pocket. I think Derek Carr might be in their back pocket too.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
but for whatever reason, they just seem confident that Aaron Rodgers is going to come around someday. And I think we all watched that interview, and I don't know how you surmise that, but whatever. All right, let's go to the LA Chargers at 22.
I have Kenneth Grant going there. I think he's a good replacement for Poona Ford.
Yeah.
Space eater, nose tackle. Harbaugh's familiar with him from Michigan. He's a run stuffer. I think he has pass rush ability. He seems twitchy and fast at times. He's got a great power rush as well. Yeah, I think it's a great fit for the Chargers.
I have them taking Colson Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. And obviously Jim Harbaugh knows him very well, having coached him. I don't know who left in free agency this offseason when it came to tight ends, but the Chargers value tight ends. I think either Will Dissly's there or I forget the other guy that was there a year ago. But yeah, Justin Herbert needs guys to throw the football to. They signed back Mike Williams. I don't know what they think of Quentin Johnston right now, but yeah, I think just if he's available at 22 and Harbaugh knows him, I think they'll take Colson Loveland.
Yeah.
Packers at 23.
I have Michael Williams going there. I think he fits the mold of what they like out of their defensive ends, like bigger defensive ends. Rashawn Gary, what's his name? Lucas Van Ness.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a powerful edge defender who can play well against the run. I think that's kind of what they want. I don't know. I mean, they really need a pass rusher who can put pressure on the quarterback. I don't know if he necessarily fits that mold, but this seems to be the type of player that they like. He's big, he's long, he's strong.
Where to get the friction on.
I don't know if we'll get the sack numbers that they necessarily want, but I think he fits the type of defense that they like to run.
I would argue that maybe he doesn't fit their scheme. Like if we're talking about the Falcons may run a 4-3 scheme this season, I think the Packers do the same thing. So I would question maybe if he fits, but
I think he does. Why not as a bigger defensive end, a strong side defensive end in a 4-3?
Yeah, because he usually, I don't know, didn't he primarily play as outside linebacker with Georgia?
They had him playing with his hand in the dirt a lot.
Okay.
He's a great player against the run. He's huge. He's 6'5", he's 270. I mean, that's like prototypical size for a defensive end.
You probably go on the smart route here. I do think that the Packers usually go pass rush. Something tells me though, I wouldn't be surprised if they are in on Trey Hendrickson for a trade. I would like to see them get him because I think they need pass rush desperately. But we've always talked about this would be just totally ironic that Aaron Rodgers is gone. He always wants a wide receiver taken in the first round to help him out, and they haven't done so in quite some time. I think they do it this year because Christian Watson is out for the entire season. They needed wide receiver help, even though they were extremely impressive, these young wide receivers in the 2024 season or 2023 season. Last year, Jaden Reed, just a lot of these guys did not flash and did not help out Jordan Love. So I think they take Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. He's actually my favorite wide receiver in this draft. I like him a lot. He's versatile as a outside receiver. He can also play in the slot. I think he would be the perfect guy to fill in for Christian Watson. So I have them taking him at 23.
I like Matthew Golden a lot. I don't see when I watch Matthew Golden that speed. I think he looks best as like an intermediate route runner. I think he has great body control and a great route running and twitchiness in like tight spaces. I don't think that he looks like he's a burner at all. I thought Isaiah Bond looked faster than he did.
No, definitely. I mean, Isaiah Bond's the faster player, but I think
there's a bunch of players in the draft who look a lot faster. I think Jalen Knoll, Kyle Williams, all look better as deep ball.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that what they're looking for more is just a guy that can go up and get catches, and I think that Matthew Golden has good separation. They have a lot of guys that are fast guys on this team already with Jaden Reed and who am I missing? Nick, Dontavian Wicks, Dontavius Wicks,
yeah.
Bo Melton. I think that they just need a guy that can play on the outside or just a versatile wide receiver to help out Jordan Love when a lot of those guys were just so inconsistent a season ago.
Yeah.
Then we have, who's at 24?
Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings. So you have Minnesota taking, Nick.
Maxwell Hairston, who I love. He is awesome. He is the fastest corner in the draft, which I love. He's like crazy as a tackler. He's just a little dude. He's 5'11", 183 pounds, but they blitzed him all the time. He's awesome in coverage. He's incredibly fast. I think because of his size, at times you'll have to play him at nickel. But he's super twitchy. I think he can play there really, really well. I think he can be an elite nickel corner. I think, he has potential to be a man-to-man shutdown outside corner. I think that's the type of corner that the Minnesota Vikings like. I think the only real issue with him, if he was like an inch taller, I think he'd be a top 15 pick. I think the only real issue is his size.
Okay. I got to be honest. I've not heard of this guy. So good on you for doing the research here.
He's awesome.
Where's he from?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
I have them taking Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, and I only have them taking him because he's a good player. I don't love him, but they need safety help because Harrison Smith is going to be this is probably his last season with them, and Cameron Bynum left in free agency to go to the Colts. Yeah. So
I think he could be awesome with them. Very much like a Brian Branch type of player.
Yeah.
He'd play as like a man-to-man in the slot. They could move him around as a chess piece. He's a good tackler. I like that pick a lot.
Okay. 25, Houston Texans. I have them taking Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State there. That may be too low, but I think with just their offensive line troubles a season ago and them trading away, who's their guy? Gas Mask. Went to Commanders. Laramie Tunsil.
Laramie Tunsil, yes, yeah.
And they signed who they signed the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive tackle Cam Robinson, but they need to upgrade theirs, so I think they definitely go offensive line here.
I have them, so I see that too. I don't think that Simmons is going to be available. I think they could take the tackle from Minnesota, who looks pretty good.
Okay.
And he played in kind of a zone blocking scheme as well. I think
What's his name?
Ariante Ursary.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's awesome. He was Big Ten tackle of the year, offensive lineman of the year. Yeah, I think that they probably will take a tackle. I think they need offensive line help desperately. I just think that the more fun pick is kind of a Tank Dell replacement. I think it's Kyle Williams from Washington State.
Whoa.
Who is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So fast. He's incredible.
I know. So I brought him up as one of the best wide receivers in the draft. And of course, Steven was like, he's not even like top 15 in some people's like wide receiver rankings. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I didn't hear a lot about him. And then Chris Sims did him in his wide receiver rankings, and he's incredibly fast. I don't know about first round though.
Yeah, without a doubt, I would say. I think he should be.
Yeah?
I think he's a better player than Matthew Golden is. If Matthew Golden runs what do you run? 4.29? What does he run? 4 flat? He's
something like that, yeah.
The fastest dude. Him or Jalen Knoll, I could see with this pick, are way faster than Matthew Golden is. I think they're just as good of route runners. I think his outside release is the best. It's like crazy. There were so many times where his outside release is just so fantastic. And then John Mateer, the quarterback from Washington State, who's now transferred to Oklahoma, they're talking about him being a potential number 1 overall pick, just underthrows him, like completely underthrows him. It was just a wide open touchdown. He had 14 touchdowns last year. He should have had 20. There were like 6 times that John Mateer underthrew him for just a walk-in touchdown. I think you can play him all around. He's like 5'11", but I think he is, fantastic. He could be an outside Jalen Waddle type of player. I think he's that good. Yeah.
All right. He definitely flashes. I just don't see first round, but he definitely has the speed. He has definitely first round speed. All right, let's go a little faster here. Go ahead and give me your picks 26 through 32, and then I'll give you mine.
So for the Rams, I have them taking Mason Taylor. I think that they probably would want a corner. I think they would like Maxwell Hairston too. They played a lot of zone coverages at Kentucky. They play a lot of zone with the Rams. I think he would be a good fit. But I have them taking Mason Taylor. It seems like they need a tight end. He's pretty good. He's a huge guy. He's a great route runner. I like him almost as much as I like Tyler Warren. The Baltimore Ravens, I have them taking James Pierce. I think they need to improve in their outside pass rush. I think he's the best available pass rusher. Okay. I think he's really good. I think he has incredible speed. He looks long and lanky, but I think he plays against the run really well. I think he'd be a really good fit for them as a stand-up outside linebacker. Then I have the Detroit Lions taking another pass rusher. I could also see them going corner for maybe Revel, or if the Harrison is available, I could see them. I think they like to play man-to-man at corner, but I think they need another pass rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I think Donovan Ezeraku could play that well as a weak side kind of pass rusher. He's really fast. He's got great speed. He's long, incredible bend. Same issue as
Boston College?
Boston College. Same issue with the other guys is that he's 250 pounds. But I think they have who are the Ozariki or whatever, Ozarike, and then Reader, and then Aiden Hutchinson, who are just monsters. So I think you can kind of hide him. And I think he'd be great as a speed rusher. Are we going to 29?
Yeah.
And then I have the Washington Commanders taking Amari and Hampton. I think that I don't like him as much as I like Travion Henderson. I think Travion Henderson reminds me of like a Jahmyr Gibbs, where he's like an explosive type of player. But I think that Amari and Hampton would fit well with the Washington Commanders. He's really versatile. I think he's probably the best outside zone running back, but I think he can run power as well. And I think he would work well with the kind of read option stuff that Washington could run with him. I think it'd be hard to not commit bodies to stopping Amari and Hampton because he's just so big and strong and fast. But then Jaden Daniels could keep it. I think it would work really well with them.
And then who do you have the last three? Buffalo, Kansas City, and Philly.
Buffalo, I think they need a man-to-man corner. They play a lot of zone, but I think that there's times where you need to play man-to-man. I think that they don't have someone who really can do that. So I'd have them taking Siobhan Revel from Eastern Carolina. He's a prototypical like size of a corner. He's 6'2", 195. Out of all of them, he plays the most press man. I think Kirsten can play man-to-man, but he's more like an off-man type of corner. They play a lot of like a cover 4, which basically becomes man-to-man, but you're playing off coverage or like you're bailing. He'll like beat you up on the line and play you press. He's a really good tackler. His long speed, I guess, is not the best. I didn't really see that. He doesn't look like he's as fast as Harrison. I don't think he looks slow at all. I think because of his size, he'll beat you up and he'll stay on you. I don't think it's as much of a concern. But he did have an ACL injury, and he played at Eastern Carolina. So, I mean, I think some teams might have concerns with the injury and then also the level of competition that he played against. The Kansas City Chiefs at 31, I have them taking the tackle, Ariante Ursary. I think that was clearly the weakness of their football team. I think they could go another pass rusher or maybe interior defensive line help as well. But I think that they need to shore up the ends of their offensive line. They did just sign Jalen Moore, but I mean, I don't know if they kind of paid him as if he's like a starting tackle. I think he got like $20 million. So it's not a starting
he definitely got
tackle,
paid.
but yeah. But I think this guy could be better. I think maybe you could move Jalen Moore around the offensive line. And then I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking to end the first round Walter Nolan, who I think fits pretty well with their defensive front. I think he's kind of a Milton Williams replacement. I think him and Jalen Carter shooting gaps would be fantastic. I think you can kind of move him around as well. He's fast. I think the only problem is his run defense. But I think they have that other big dude from Georgia who they could play on rundowns.
Jordan Davis,
yeah, kind of as a nose tackle. I think he would be special with Davis on the who am I thinking of?
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter on the inside, yeah. But I could see them going for secondary help. I could see them drafting Malachi Starks or maybe another man-to-man corner. Because Cooper DeJean likes to play kind of as a slot corner. I think maybe they would want a true outside boundary corner. But I could see them going safety with Malachi Starks as well if you think that Cooper DeJean could play outside corner. But I think defensive line, strengthening the best part of your football team is – they've lost some guys. They lost Josh Sweat and Neil Williams. I think that it's a good spot.
I like that pick a lot. If Walter Nolan falls, that's a slam dunk for the Philadelphia Eagles because that's a typical Howie Roseman move where you think a guy's going high in the draft and they fall and he just pounces on them. Same thing happened with Jalen Carter in the draft a couple of years ago. Same thing with Nolan Smith too, actually. For my remaining mock draft, 26, I have the Rams taking Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Texas. I think just linebacker has been something that they've been missing out on. Their defense is very good, but I just think that they need to improve their linebacking situation.
I'm surprised you think he falls that far. I thought he was awesome.
He's really good. I just think it's the position as just a pure linebacker. And he could play a little rush in too, but I think that, I don't know, just the position of linebacker just kind of falls in the draft these days.
Yeah.
I have the Ravens taking Tyler Booker, the offensive guard from Alabama. I think the Detroit Lions at 28 take James Pierce, the pass rusher from Tennessee. I think he's really good. He's actually my third favorite pass rusher in this whole damn draft. I just think that there's concerns maybe I read with his attitude, and just the way he interacted with coaches a season ago. But I think Dan Campbell handles that. 29, I have the Commanders taking Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. They definitely need pass rush. I have the Buffalo Bills taking defensive tackle Tyleek Williams from Ohio State. I actually haven't watched this guy yet, but they definitely need some D-line help. And then I mean they got great players, Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa. They just signed Joey Bosa, but I think they can have some help on their interior pass rush. And then with the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them taking the guard Gray Zamble from North Dakota State, with Joe Tooney being traded to the Chicago Bears. Their offensive line woes were evident in the Super Bowl. And then lastly, with the Philadelphia Eagles, normally I would have them taking pass rusher, but with them trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I haven't watched this guy, so I don't know a lot about him. And if I fuck up his name, excuse me. I have them taking safety Nick Emonwori from South Carolina.
Yeah.
What do you think about him, real quick?
I think he's good. I think he's best in coverage. I mean, he's huge, but he doesn't look like he's a thumper.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he can play kind of similar to like a Derwin James, be like play man to man in the slot. I don't know if that's type of his game. He seems like he's more of like a rangy type of safety. Yeah, I could see that, but it seems as though I don't know. A lot of people think he's going to fall out of the first round. There's a lot of buzz about him being in the middle of the first round, and then I feel like we're seeing more and more. I mean, what do these people know? But
yeah,
I guess they're hearing that teams aren't as high on him. Maybe
well, I definitely know that Nick Papa knows the draft. It's a very, very good mock draft, sir. Definitely different than what most people have out there, but I think you've done your research and you base things off of how these teams play their schemes. And a lot of people just go with position and need and, the names that people know from college football. But you've done your homework, sir.
I've tried my best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be a good draft. I think because there's not a lot of clear-cut superstars, I think it'll be interesting, and I think we could get a lot of surprises. I don't know if there's going to be as much trading, though, because I don't think that there's enough guys that are really strong enough to trade up for.
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 trades in my entire mock draft, and I just don't see it this year because I think just a lot of teams value having a lot of draft picks, and I just don't think that there's positions worth trading up for. So,
and I was looking at the picks, and a lot of these teams don't have a ton of draft picks.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think a lot of teams will be in the market for trading out.
Yep.
I just don't know if a lot of teams will want to be trading up.
Yeah, but so you and I only have 2 quarterbacks going the first round. So we see Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe and all these other guys. It's just hype. They're going in later rounds. I hope we see player movement. I hope we see Jalen Ramsey's names out there, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert. So maybe we see some more player movement before the draft happens.
Yeah.
Nick, job well done, my friend, and I'll see you at the KMBR draft party in San Jose.
Yeah, when is that?
The day of the draft.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Where it's in Alameda Brewing Company, right?
No. It's in Jack's. Jack's in San Jose. Yeah, Jack's.
Oh, yeah.
Not small Jack's, bigger Jack's. In God, I should know this by now. But it's Jack's Bar and Restaurant in San Jose. Come on by. It's me, Adam Copeland, Marcus Boucher, and the whole KMBR gang, and we'll be taking you all the way up to 11 for when the Niners draft in the first round.
You're not going past 11?
We may take other picks.
All right, well, it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I mean, the show goes from 5 to 9, so I'm assuming we'll take the other picks there. But the main focus is what the Niners do. Nick, job well done, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Papa. He's a lawyer in the daytime. That's his day job. By night, he's a draft expert.
Draft expert.
There you go. Well done, Nick.
Thank you.